Hello again my friends, Omegaman, the desert sage at your service. Of course, I am also known as Broccoli Man, so I should figure out a way to get broccoli in here somewhere. Today, I am going to try something completely different. You might be wondering why we are in this kitchen. The reason is simple. I am going to help you make a delicious soup that I created. I call it simply Omegaman's spicy soup. We are going to be making over 2 quarts this time, but of course you can make more or less by just scaling the recipe. This is an easy soup to make, only takes a few minutes, if you have the ingredients ready, and it is very delicious, unless you are one of those people from one of those states, where they do not like to eat food that has a lot of flavor. So, if you are one of those people who thinks that plain mashed potatoes or grits with boiled meat is the last word in gourmet dining, this soup is not for you. If you are one of those people who breaks out in a cold sweat from eating a slice of salami, look elsewhere. Hey, what is the difference between broccoli and snot? Give up. Kids don't eat broccoli. This soup is very versatile. I am going to show you how I make it and how I like it, but you can adjust the amount of the ingredients up or down to adjust the character of the soup to your liking. The way we are making it today, it will be spicy, but not painful. This soup can be made as a vegetarian soup, or one that is not strictly vegetarian, yet has no meat, or you can add meat to it as well. For this soup, you will need 2 quarts of chicken broth or a substitute, 1 large onion, 1 cup of salsa. This can be homemade or something lesser like paste, picante sauce, or a cup of salsa casera or salsa verde, or a mixture of these. It is not critically important. They will all taste good. You will need a teaspoon of ground black pepper, maybe less if it is really fresh. If you want it as I like it, spicy, you will need some habanero sauce, between a tablespoon and an ounce, depending on how hot the sauce is. If you are a mellow mouth, as is typical of people not from the Southwest, you might prefer to leave the habanero sauce out, but I have not tried it that way, and it would not deserve to be called spicy soup without it. Your choice. You will also need 2 packages of dried ramen noodles, and some vegetables. You can try variations, pieces of potato, broccoli, chopped cabbage, celery or what have you. I just usually use sliced fresh carrots. Whatever you decide, you will need about a cup of the veggies. If you are making this soup as a soup with meat in it, you should have about a cup of chopped, pre-cooked meat. Chicken or steak are both excellent, but I suppose you could use pieces of hamburger, pork, shrimp, sausage, or about anything else and it will still be delicious. Many years ago, when my kids were just little sprouts, I was trying to get them to eat broccoli. I tried various ways of preparing it, but they just turned up their noses. I tried this for 3 days. They did not care that it is nutritious. Then I got this great idea. I found a recipe for making imitation snowballs. You know, the prepackaged pastries that have the white filling, covered in chocolate cake, shaped like an igloo, with a marshmallow-like covering with shredded coconut on the outside. Anyway, I made one for each of them. They ate the outside, devoured the cake, but when they got to the broccoli cream filling, they just left that on the plate. Being very frustrated after all of that work for nothing, I said, "Why on earth won't you eat broccoli?" They faced me and said, "For the last time, Dad, that isn't broccoli, it is just really old cauliflower." Let's get started. First, you will need a pot or soup pan large enough to contain the ingredients. It must be able to hold over 2 quarts of boiling liquid without spilling over. You will probably need a 3-quart capacity, if you are adding meat. We will start with our soup base. The base of the soup is chicken broth, or something imitating it. I am making the vegetarian version today. You are probably wondering how one makes vegetarian soup when I said it begins with chicken broth. Well, I will be using Harvest brand vegetarian bouillon mix, chicken flavor. I am not sure what this stuff is made out of. Maybe they splice some chicken DNA into a broccoli plant. There are probably other similar products. This is just the one I know, and therefore, can give it the Omegaman seal of approval. Of course you can use other ways of doing this, like chicken bouillon or canned chicken broth, But for this recipe as I am making it, you need to have about 2 quarts. You probably will not have to add any salt to this recipe, unless you are Australian. Did you know they put salt on French toast in Australia? If you are Australian or if you just like your food salty, I would wait until you taste the soup at the very end, and then see if it needs more salt. Oh, I have another one. One day 2 broccoli stems were walking together down the street. They stepped off the curb and a speeding car came around the corner and ran one of them over. The uninjured broccoli stem called 911 and helped his injured friend as best he could. The injured broccoli stem was taken to emergency at the hospital and rushed into surgery. After an agonizing wait, the doctor finally appeared. He told the uninjured broccoli, "I have good news, and I have bad news. The good news is that your friend is going to pull through. The bad news is that he's going to be a vegetable for the rest of his life." That is enough about broccoli even for me, but speaking of vegetables creates a good segue back to the recipe. I will be making the vegetarian version today, and I need a pot that will hold over 2 quarts without boiling over. As I said, a 3-quart pot might be best. I start with putting 2 quarts of water in my pot. Then I add 8 level teaspoons of my vegetarian bouillon mix to the water, and bring the water to a boil. I stir the mix into the water before it is boiling, to dissolve it, then move on to other tasks while waiting for the water to boil. Of course, if you are using another product, follow the direction to achieve about 2 quarts of broth. Next, you will need a whole large onion. So far, I have only used white onions in this recipe, but I am certain that other large onions would work just fine. Dice or chop the onion up and set it aside. I do not mince them too fine, just chop the onion into pieces that would be small enough not to fall out of a soup spoon. Next, chop up your cup of vegetables that you have decided to use. Again, you do not want them too small. It is nice to have something to chew on in the soup. If you will be having meat in your soup, do what you have to do to have a cup of chopped meat ready, already cooked. Once your base has come to a boil, turn off the burner, and add the other ingredients. It will stay hot enough on its own to cook the vegetable, and leaving it hot for too long, make the veggies get mushy and lose their flavor. So, now that the heat is off, just drop in the onions, the teaspoon of black pepper, the cup of salsa, the tablespoon of habanero sauce, the cup of chopped veggies, the cup of chopped meat if you are using it, and the 2 packages of ramen. I am not sure everyone will even know what ramen is, but as I mean it, they are packages of oriental noodles that are dried, and generally come with some sort of seasoning in a separate little envelope. I suggest leaving the envelope of spices out, though you might like it. I never tried that. Once the soup cools enough you can eat it as is. But that is not how it is intended to be eaten. For the finishing touch, that really sets this off, you get a ladle and spoon the soup into your serving bowls. Now take some chopped fresh cilantro, and sprinkle it over the top of the soup. Next, take some grated cheddar cheese, and sprinkle just enough to almost cover the surface of the soup, such that there is cheese in every place you could put a spoon, but you can see soup showing through. Place your bowl of soup in a microwave oven and run it on high. It is hard to recommend a specific time, since that will vary with the serving size and the power of your microwave, but generally, 1 minute to 1 minute and 45 seconds per bowl will be about right. Watch it through the door and you will see the cheddar cheese melt. It does not have to melt until it flattens out, but it should definitely begin to lose its shape. Then stop the microwave, and take out your bowl or bowls. If you are serving this to small children, the elderly, or other people who may not be able to eat in the most coordinated fashion, I recommend leaving the cheese out. The reason is that the cheese tends to make these long strands that can easily go down the wrong pipe and cause a choking problem. Sit down with your spoon and your bowl of soup, with some good tortilla chips handy. I recommend Juanita's brand, if you can find them. You will be using the chips like croutons or crackers, but you do not want to put them in the soup all at once. They will get too soggy too fast. Just put a little in the soup, and lift it out with your spoon of soup underneath it. Repeat this process until the soup is transferred from the bowl to your tummy. Enjoy.